All right. Hello, Southeast Tennessee. I am Dr. J. Adam Lowe. I'm the host of Man Up America, and this new segment that we have going on with WTNB here is called Inside the Interviews. As we approach the new political season, we're actually going to take an opportunity to really delve into some of the candidates that are asking you for your vote and asking you for your time and your attention. Today, to start us off in this political season, we have in the studio with us the Honorable Kevin Brooks, currently the Assistant Majority Leader of the Tennessee State House, and as of today, declared candidate for Cleveland City Mayor. So we're going to welcome Kevin Brooks to the program. How are you doing today, Kevin?
Thank you, Dr. Lowe. It's official. My first interview since declaring my candidacy at 11 o'clock this morning.
Right here on WTNB with
Exclusive.
Inside the Interviews. Now, for those who know me, they know that on Man Up, we're not always serious, and we're going to have some elements of that in this too.
I've been here before.
You have been here before. So this is old hat for you. You'll know that we'll have some fun a little bit later on. But Inside the Interviews is supposed to be a more intimate look into not only you as a person, but you as a representative,
Sure.
and you as a candidate for Cleveland City Mayor. So I'm going to ask you some questions. Hopefully it'll give you an opportunity to elaborate for our viewers and our listeners. We are on Facebook Live.
Great.
You can catch this interview on WTNB Television. That's Charter Channel 5, Comcast 210, Digital TV Dial 27.1. And we will re-air this on the program that I host, which runs Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays on WTNB and Talk 101.3 The Buzz, called Man Up America. So in the spirit of Man Up, Kevin, we want to know more about Kevin the Man. Now,
great.
I'm not going to drift off in the whole President Clinton boxers or briefs kind of thing.
Thank God.
We'll keep it PG-13 on the program,
Certainly.
which means you get one curse word in the entire of this
Darn.
interview. One curse word. But tell us about the family Brooks.
Yeah. So thankful that my family has been such a huge supportive part of my entire campaign life since 2006. You know, Adam, just like your family, we have a very close family network. None of these decisions, whether it was to run for the first time in Nashville or continue running for re-election, or today's announcement to run for Cleveland City Mayor, have been done without family discussion, family prayer, and family agreement. I think it's very important that when you are called to serve, that you don't forget you serve your family first. You hear that term a lot, first family. I reverse it and say family first, because if it weren't for my wife and children, I would not be a successful candidate nor representative. Kim and Zach were there with me this morning, and it was the only time you'll hear me get choked up in the speech that I gave this morning was when I looked over to my right and saw my wife and my son sitting on the front row, and it reminded me of what I'm doing this for. Elizabeth is working. She's a nanny for a local Cleveland family, and she's enjoying Florida, but watched it on Facebook Live and was texting Dad. And the family network in the Brooks household is it. As a matter of fact, the primary reason for the decision not to seek re-election to Nashville was 12 years is a long time to be gone, and it's time to come home. And in doing so, in making the decision to come home, the opportunity came available to also run and serve my hometown locally. Kim was asked today what she's most looking forward to in the campaign process, and she said, my husband being home every night. So it's a big deal.
Now, being home was a big deal, and when you actually won the state representative seat, your children were still young.
Very much.
Here in Cleveland, Tennessee. What was it like being gone for 4 months in Nashville? And do you regret being away with them being young?
I can tell you it was actually much longer than 4 months. When I first got elected, 2006 through 2008, we were not in the majority. We were there till June, July. One year we got kicked out of our hotel rooms because the CMA Awards, which is not until late in July, Country Music Fest, and they can sell those rooms for $300 a night instead of our government rate, and they basically said, you guys have to leave. It was not until the Republican majority in 10, 12, and 14 that we started leaving in April, which greatly helped my absence. I was able to come home in the spring instead of the summer. But it's tough. It's tough being gone. I had a great conversation yesterday with both Governor Haslam and Speaker Harwell announcing that I would not be seeking reelection. And in both of those conversations, I reminded them that being able to drive home at night like they both do and tuck their children in and have soccer games and have dinner with your spouse is an amazing luxury that many of us across the state have to have great sacrifices. You leave your family, you leave your home, you leave your work. Many of us have full-time jobs. And it really is a sacrifice, and I'm incredibly grateful that I get the chance to continue serving, which is what I love to do, but I get to do it here in my hometown.
In making that sacrifice as a father, what did you miss?
I missed the connectivity. I'm not trying to plug a brand, but iPhones and FaceTime changed my ability to communicate with my family. Being able to look at my daughter's face, being able to hear my son's voice and look into his eyes, and then being able to tell your wife you love her and good night every night was a game changer. I was an early adopter to the Apple products because of that, and it really did make a huge difference about being gone. You were no longer out of sight, out of mind. Phone calls are great, texts are great, but being able to look into your loved one's eyes was a game changer. It was hard. I missed the little things, the life, the minutia, I guess some people would call it, the track meets that my son would have at Cleveland Middle and Cleveland High. My daughter was a dancer and a cheerleader in the dance recitals and the dance team. And it's those bonding moments that my wife would say, "Oh, honey, I wish you could have seen Elizabeth's dance team," or "Honey, Zach got a bronze medal at his track meet." And you sort of think, okay, I'm doing what I believe God wants me to do. I'm serving. I'm doing what people elected me to do. But boy, it sure would be handy if the Capitol was in Chattanooga. I said that many times.
Would you trade it to get that time back?
You know, you can't. You have to make a decision. Senator Bunch, who I took his seat in the House, actually said to me, "Kevin, get in the car and go home. If your kids have something going on, you only get paid to travel once. If you go up and back more than once, you only get per diem and travel for one trip." But he said, "You will have many Tuesdays where you need to be home and you need to go." And so I did. The practice of government continues. The practice of the House continues. One person can be gone for a track meet if you need it to be, and I'm thankful that he gave me that advice, and I'm thankful that I followed it.
Core to your family values in the Brooks household. Now, your children are grown now.
They're both. Elizabeth just graduated 2 weeks ago from Lee in their winter commencement School of Nursing, BSN. She heads to Vanderbilt Medical Center for her new job as a nurse resident, and Zach is back at Lee, working in the finance department, but also getting his MBA. He's trying to catch up to you, Dr. Lowe.
Oh, gotcha. What would your children, your two very intelligent, well-rounded children, what would they say about your time in Nashville and being away?
Zach actually said it this morning. One of the interviewers this morning from a local radio station asked Zach what was the hardest thing, and he said, "My dad being gone, missing my dad, not being able to talk to my dad." Ask Kim, "What are you looking forward to?" "My husband being home every night." So that came up this morning a lot. And quite frankly, I think my children would tell you it was hard having a part-time dad, and that's really what guided my decision that after 12 years of serving in the State House, it's time to come home. You know, Adam, the Constitution calls us citizen legislators. We're supposed to keep our jobs and keep connected with our community and not serve a lifetime commitment. You're supposed to do your job and come home. And so I think 12 years is a great time to say thank you. Obviously, the transition with Mayor Rowland deciding not to seek re-election is really the Tennessee trifecta for me. It just worked out very, very well.
Okay, we'll get to the mayor thing in a little bit. In a little bit. Let's talk about Kevin, the state representative,
Sure.
Assistant Majority Leader,
Sure.
and
Former.
Former,
Yeah, former.
As of when?
I became the vice chairman of finance last session.
Okay.
And so you can't serve. It's unique. You can either be in chairmanship of a committee, or you can be in leadership of the caucus, and you have to make a choice. Do I want to be policy or do I want to be politics? And for 10 of the 12 years, I was politics. I served in different leadership all the way up to assistant majority leader. To this past session, I will be entering the second half of it, the 110th. I made the decision to not seek that any longer and be vice chairman of finance. As a matter of fact, I got a call yesterday that said, "You are poised to be chairman of finance. Are you sure that you want to step down?" And I said, "I've never been more confident of anything in my life."
So, what do you feel as state representative in Nashville, whether it's politics or policy?
Sure.
What do you feel your biggest impact or accomplishment
Sure.
has been since you've spent this 12 years in Nashville?
Exit 20. I'm a hometown boy.
Okay.
All the legislation.
More than yes on one, more than hall income tax, more than grocery tax. You're going to tell me the exit at exit 20.
The fact that we are setting the infrastructure for the future. Okay. Yes on one was incredibly important, but that would have passed without my vote. It was an overwhelming Republican majority. I was there and honored to say yes. Hall income tax, campaigned on it every year. It would have passed because of our Republican majority, even though the governor didn't want it to pass. It would have passed without me being there. I literally could have come home that day, and it still would be a law. And I would still say I was a big part of it. What could not have passed without the direct involvement of Senator Mike Bell, Senator Todd Gardenhire, Dan Howell, and myself is putting into place the infrastructure backbone. Someone complained that nothing's been built down there yet. And I said, well, you might remember when they built the Eiffel Tower, when they built the Empire State Building, it was a bunch of scaffolding first. Before anything was built that's lasting, you got to have the scaffolding. And I said, that's what it is. That's what you're seeing right now. The scaffolding is in place for incredible things that, Adam, our children's children will talk about many, many years down the road. For instance, to the north, just north of us, in the 22nd District, is the Wacker Corporation. And just to the south of us, in Gerald McCormick's district, is the Volkswagen Corporation. That kind of presence is close for Bradley County. And I smile every time I drive across that bridge.
It has gotten better. I'll give you this.
Thank you.
I get to UEC cinemas on Tuesday night for $5 Tuesday a lot faster.
I used to get pictures of
to.
people hanging their phone out of their car window, and they would send me pictures. The funniest one was when my own child sent me a picture of the traffic jam saying, "Dad, you've got to do something about this. I'm going to miss my movie."
Okay. We talked about, you mentioned that as your greatest accomplishment, biggest impact. What was the challenge? And let me frame this question with kind of a metaphor here. It is easier to take a receiver or a player spot and go to Alabama because there's a winning team, right? It is harder to make the decision to become a receiver at Tennessee right now.
Very hard.
For most of your 12 years, you saw a Republican majority, and for the latter part, a supermajority over there. You were, in essence, on the winning team when there was a winning team, and you got a lot of your way. First 2 years, not so much.
First four.
First four.
Yeah.
What was the challenge? And I want you to split that.
Sure.
Pre-majority
Sure.
and post-majority. What were the two biggest challenges in that area?
You know, I think I can boil it down to your vote and your voice. The first 4 years, we only had a vote. We had no voice. We had no voice at the table. We had no chairmanships. We had no ability to direct or influence. You simply showed up and cast your vote. And at that time, simply along party lines, we would all lockstep vote against the Democratic initiatives. That's when the Yes on One began. It actually began before I got there with Dave Fowler and some of the other senators that were there and led the way. And we basically were fighting against the democratic, socialistic, what we believed non-Tennessee values that were pervasive. Metro areas had a huge voice, a huge influence. East Tennessee did not. And as the majority shifted and as things became towards the Republican caucus, our votes and our voice truly mattered. And it was amazing to watch that transition. When I first got to Nashville, David Davis, who's no longer even with the banner, took a picture of the closet. And Adam, there's not a place that I can see right now that was as small as the closet that they put me in. And there's a picture that they ran in the banner. And that's because the Republicans didn't matter. And we were told that we could take it or leave it, and we had to share secretaries. And it was just sort of, we were the minority party. Being able to be a part of now the winning team has been an amazing, cutting the hall income tax, as you said, grocery tax refunds, elimination of the estate tax, the death tax. I mean, there's just on and on and on, things that had to be done to make Tennessee profitable for long term. It's all been wonderful, and that's great. I can tell you, to whom much is given, much is required. And being on the winning team and being in what you just accurately called the supermajority has its problems. What's happened is people have now started fighting with each other. We don't fight with the Democrats because there's so few. The far-right Republicans fight with the moderate Republicans who fight with what are considered the left Republicans or the liberal Republicans. It's kind of an oxymoron, but there's definitely different factions fighting against each other. I'm one of the few that just say, can't we all just get along? Guys, we're going to lose this very fragile majority if we're not careful.
Okay, who was that? Rodney King? Are we quoting Rodney King? We were quoting. I thought Larry King might come up, but Rodney King, we'll go with that.
I was hoping
King
it was
somewhere.
one of the Kings.
So you were a big advocate. You mentioned it started before you got to Nashville, but you were a big advocate of yes on one. And the significance of this is constitutional amendment. Okay, it's the constitutional amendment that was passed in recent tenure. What do you feel the long-term implications of a monumental policy move like that? And explain a little bit about yes on one for maybe our listeners that don't remember.
Sure. It began, it had to pass, goodness gracious, I think we passed it 3 times in each chamber to become on the referendum and on the ballot. It basically protects the sanctity of life in Tennessee. And it did take the Republican majority to get that passed. And the reason that the push to get it as a constitutional amendment was if we are ever not in the majority in the future, it would be incredibly difficult to reverse that. There are things that we pass every session, for instance, the hall income tax. We did not make that constitutional. It could be reinstituted. Is it going to be fun? Is it going to be painful? It would be very difficult, but it could be done. There are certain things like the sanctity of life, the yes on one, that cannot be reversed easily. We made it that way on purpose. And I think, the courts are upholding it. They're challenging it, but right now it's been upheld at every level, and I think that will continue in perpetuity.
You mentioned the hall income tax.
Ta-da!
And this is getting a little bit ahead into the mayor part. There were local revenue implications.
No doubt.
For eliminating the hall income tax.
No doubt.
It, in essence, hurt, for lack of a better word, local government budgets because it removed a potential source of revenue from them. As you transition, how do you have that conversation?
Well, you have to remember, it's not our money. That money does not belong to Bradley County or the city of Cleveland. That's the taxpayers' money. Adam, that's your money. That is the Tennessee taxpayers' money that, in fact, the city and county did not even collect. We collected it at the state level and then sort of in a welfare program dispersed it throughout the state. Great disparity of who got what. Lots of arguments about the unfairness of how the hall income tax profit was distributed across the state. Who gets more, who gets less, who pays more, who pays less. Shockingly, as vice chairman of finance, I was given some confidential data showing the number one city in Tennessee that pays hall income tax to the state, and it's a neighbor of us in Cleveland. Even the chairman said, "Can you believe that?" And I said, I know who lives there. I know exactly what that is. It was unfair. It was burdensome. And, every time I sent out a press release that talked about no income tax in Tennessee, I would have more than one articulate and well-spoken.
But there's one, right? Yeah, but there's one. Yeah,
and they would send me emails and say, "I hate to call you a liar, but I just sent my check to Nashville, and it's income tax, and it's called the hall income tax." So I feel like we needed to get rid of it. We allowed the cities and counties, we held them harmless for the first fiscal season, so I don't think it's going to be an immediate impact. And the numbers that were reported were actually inflated of what the actual impact's going to be, and I think we're going to be just fine. I welcome that discussion.
For those of you who aren't familiar with the hall income tax, it's essentially an income tax on investment growth.
Dividends.
For those who make their money by investing in other businesses rather than running business a lot of times. What do you think, and this is kind of a state question, what do you think the impact on a state and local level will be of tax reform at the federal level that we've recently seen?
I think the tax reforms are going to make a local impact. I think every American is going to feel changes from the information that we've been given. We've asked, obviously, in my state job, which I still will serve the balance of my term, and I'm still vice chairman of finance, so we've got to figure out how to balance our budget. Washington doesn't have that constitutional requirement. We do in Nashville. And we've asked the questions: how will this affect us? How will the Medicaid changes affect TennCare? How will this affect our incarceration charges and costs? Education, how will this affect us? I think there are going to be some changes. We are told that it will be advantageous in many parts, that the state will not feel a great impact, that in fact most middle Americans will feel an increase when they do their taxes next year. We're a little bit of a wait and see. I don't mean to sound incredulous, but I do want to wait and see myself. I've already been contacted. I pump gas just like you do, Adam, and I go to Cook's grocery store and get vegetables at night when my wife is making dinner. And people stop me and say, "Hey, I'm worried. I make less than $70,000, which is what the threshold that they stated on the news, and I'm worried that my taxes, that I'm going to not get as big of a return this year." And I'm telling people to not lose hope, and let's wait and see. And I'll be the first one to pick up the phone and call Washington and rattle some cages if it's a bait and switch.
Don't lose hope. Keep hope alive. That's another king. That's Don King we've now quoted. So we've had Rodney King and Don King.
It's Christmas. We three kings. So we're going to have one more.
Okay, so every now and then, as the privilege of the interviewer, I get some unfair questions.
Oh, great.
And we're going to do two unfair questions
Some
before we
think
go to
all these are unfair.
all these unfair. Two unfair questions before we go to a quick break and come back and talk about your mayoral run. The Republicans have had a supermajority in the legislature for almost a decade now. You feel like when that happens, as a conservative, that you'll see some sweeping conservative reforms in those environments. And though we've seen some, like Yes on One, what we've seen with the hall income tax, why do we not have constitutional carry in Tennessee?
It's not an unfair question whatsoever. My 380 is very close right now. I would say that that although constitutional carry is a great concept, and there are many, many advocates for it, and many of us who are Second Amendment enthusiasts like myself, it's a difficult situation when you're dealing with the unknown. And in constitutional carry discussions in Nashville, I can just tell you what happens in committee. It's the what ifs. It's the what if. And when you're Dr. Lowe, it's PhD. But if you were JD, jurisprudence, and you have to beat a reasonable doubt, it's that reasonable doubt that keeps coming up in committees that causes the bills to be derailed. We have a majority in the House. We don't have supermajorities in committees. Maybe one vote, maybe two vote lead. But if you look at the balance of these committees, like Judicial Committee or GovOps, where that bill comes
Which
through,
some have to be structured.
that is correct. And so you can't get to the House floor to have a constitutional carry debate until you get out of committee, and that's where the hang-up is. I would challenge that we haven't had sweeping conservative reforms when you have $400 million in tax cuts in 8 years. That's as long as we've been in the majority. And no other state can say that we've done what we've done in Tennessee, and clearly no local government can say that they've had the cuts that we've done, which would not have been possible without the conservative majority.
By the way, these unfair questions are very important to the viewership of Man Up America,
I understand.
which we talk about these issues quite often. So last unfair question before the break. Important to the viewership of Man Up America. Is Donald Trump a good president?
Donald Trump is the president.
Okay.
That's what my continual answer is. You can't judge. My mother thought Jimmy Carter was a good president because he taught Sunday school. Long-standing debate. We're from Georgia. And I said, Mom, he's not a good president. He's a Democrat, and it's terrible, and recession. And, well, he taught Sunday school. So people are dealing or judging or leveling their opinions. I answer people, do you think Donald Trump's a good president? Donald Trump is our president, good or bad. He is the president. I have incredible great respect for the office of president, regardless of the occupant of that office. I have met a number of the presidents and continue to support our president and the person that's in that office. And Adam, you can't fault today's Dow reaching 25,000 historic level, unemployment right here where we live, sitting right here in this studio, historic unemployment lows, historic Dow Jones highs. Something's working. Do we like everything I see on Twitter? Absolutely not. I don't like everything I see on my Twitter. But the reality is Donald Trump is president. I support our president, and I look forward to seeing how we can partner Tennessee with Washington. I just wish that they would follow our model of constitutional amendments to balance budget.
Well, I think a lot of people would agree with you. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about the big announcement that Kevin had today. He's running for city mayor to replace Tom Rowland. We'll dig into that a little bit, and then we've got a game because that's how
is that part of the
that's
unfair
how I
question?
roll. No, this is entirely fair. You and I are going to face off.
Okay.
And we're going to see who the better man right here on Inside the Interviews. We'll be back in a moment.
You do things every minute of every day to protect them. Don't stop now. Woodman Life Family Term Life Insurance covers your entire family with a monthly premium that won't increase for the first 20 years. Guaranteed.
Jay Adam, have you ever felt kicked in the gut when trying to get approved for a loan or a home mortgage? Then go by and see my friends at Home Mortgage Solutions for a free approval. They don't hand them out like candy and just tell you what you want to hear, but they dig deep to find the solutions you need to get qualified. They have competitive rates, and with over 80 years of experience under one roof, you don't have to go anywhere else. They're never too busy, so just give them a call, 423-339-8086, or visit HomeMortgageSolutionsLLC.com.
Okay, folks, nothing too elaborate with this commercial right here. The venue Creekside is located in Cleveland, Tennessee, and is here for your next event. Most people rent a facility and then they spend hundreds, if not thousands of dollars bringing in the things they need to make it an awesome event. The venue Creekside has it all on site. It's included tables, chairs, linens, everything you need in multimedia from sound, lights, and video. It's all right there. Consider it for your next corporate meeting. Right there at the venue Creekside, located at the Village Green. So get more information at thevenuecreekside.com or call them 473-9668. If you mention Man Up America, save an extra $100 on your rental.
When I was accused of a crime, my liberty was hanging in the balance. My legal rights mattered to me, so I went to the professionals at Logan Thompson Law. Logan Thompson, attorneys at law, when it matters.
Hey, I'm Tony Sism, manager of Kyle Motors, 802 20th Street Southeast, Cleveland, Tennessee, 423-790-7100. Hey, cars, trucks, SUVs, whatever you need, we'll get it. If we don't have it, we'll get it. Come by and tell us what you need. Hey, I'm Tony Sism, sales manager of Kyle Motors. Hey, stop by today and pick out your new car.
My passion is outdoors, but my knees reached a point where I just couldn't enjoy it as well. So I had knee replacement surgery at Tenova. My experience was excellent. My new knees are great. They work well, I have no pain, and I'm able to do all the things that I enjoy.
If joint pain is affecting your life, find out how Tenova can help. Come to a free joint pain seminar. Register today at tenovaortho.com.
All right, we're back here at Inside the Interviews with the Honorable Kevin Brooks. We've gone over
Why
Kevin's...
does that make me laugh when you say
Well,
that?
the Honorable, it's on your business card.
I know.
Like your letterhead
I know,
says
I
the
know.
Honorable.
I didn't write it.
You didn't write it.
I didn't write it.
I guess. I feel like that should be reserved for judges, but you judge policy every day.
We judge policy
You
all
judge
the time.
policy. You're looking to change that equation. You're looking to become the Honorable Cleveland mayor. And
I'm hoping to come home.
We're looking to come home. Mayor Tom Rowland's been with us a long, long time.
26 years.
26 years. One of the things about the city mayor's job is it's still kind of a part-time thing. Mm-hmm. And you mentioned at the state level that being a citizen legislator was a big part of being the state. Are you going to bring that to Cleveland, or are you going to try to maintain a dual career here in Cleveland, Tennessee?
Well, you know, there's no question that that both the state rep position is a part-time position and the city of Cleveland's mayor's position is a part-time position.
With full-time hours.
Both of them are 24 hours, 7 day a week. That was actually Mayor Rowland's comments to Kim this morning when he was making his speech about not seeking re-election. He said, Mrs. Brooks, please know that this is a 7 day a week job, and it truly is. So is state rep. Now, you're only required to be in Nashville a certain number of days, a certain number of hours, but it is a 24-hour responsibility. And I do plan to continue serving the Church of God. They give me their full blessings and cooperation with being gone, just like I have been in Nashville for these 12 years. And I truly couldn't do it without that support of my employer.
During a General Assembly year, I might add.
Those
Okay.
are every 2 years. So like it or not. But my title is Public Relations, and exactly what better way to describe the mayor of Cleveland than the Chief Public Relations Officer? I'm not sure if there's a better definition. So simply by training and by proximity of what I do for a living, I'm thrilled by this opportunity that's presented itself. And yes, I do plan to keep it a part-time position. I don't plan to solicit the city council to change it to a full-time, strong mayor position. That's not the model. We have a very capable city manager. We have an incredibly gifted, elected city council, and they're doing a great job. And I'm looking forward to running a great campaign and asking people to support me as Chief Public Relations Officer.
Grand tour question for the mayoral campaign.
Lee University, I always start there.
You've answered this to some degree, but I really want you to kind of elaborate.
Sure.
Why leave the state legislature and run for mayor?
It's time. Ecclesiastes, for everything there is a season. And my season, I truly believe, in Nashville has come to a close. And it's incredibly liberating and energizing when you feel that you are doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing. Anybody that runs for state legislature should, in my opinion, not ever run for a lifetime position. And I didn't. I talked about the term citizen legislature a lot. Talk about even our own calendar of how when they framed the Constitution in 1796, how it was an agriculture society. That's why our state seal says agriculture and commerce, because that's what there was back then. And how the farmers would come in and legislate and then go home at the end of session at harvest time to bring in the fields and sell it, thus commerce. And I believe that the part-time concept and the part-time model that is in place, that Mayor Rowland has amazingly, with excellence and efficiency, kept our city in the forefront. We are one of the fastest growing. MSN.com, I know you probably don't like that website, but their polling listed Cleveland, Tennessee this week. Great week for that to come out for me as Cleveland, Tennessee, #1 city in the state for success in business in 2018. You want to be a successful businessman, move to Cleveland, Tennessee. Start your company in Cleveland, Tennessee. Bring your family to Cleveland, Tennessee. And who would have ever thought MSN would have picked us? So I was thrilled to see that, but I think it shows that even at the part-time status, the mayor of Cleveland has the ability to guide and direct and influence our future.
I'm surprised to hear that MSN.com is still a thing. It's
Or
like
even-
Ask
or even
Jeeves
newer Cleveland
or,
I love it.
For those of you still signing into
MySpace.
AOL, you'll get this
Yeah.
just live stream
MySpace.
next Tuesday. In your MySpace account.
That's so funny.
Could you give everybody your MySpace
I
for
don't
your
have one.
campaign? Let's talk a little bit about your relationship with Tom Rowland. Tom Rowland endorsed you today to replace him. You've always called Tom Dad.
Correct.
It's a play, but you've always referred to him as Dad, which kind of suggests that you've had an intimate relationship with him on a political and personal level here in town. He said he would not seek re-election, that he was endorsing you for that. What do you say to those who are maybe concerned about anointing political replacements? Is that fair?
I would say that's not what this is. I would say that just like my seat in the House, you're concerned about who's going to come in after you leave. And Mayor Rowland, not just this election cycle, but previous election cycles, has said to me, would you consider? He was concerned about the future of the city he loved so much. I don't think anybody, Adam, would second guess when you commit and invest so much of your life, your blood and sweat and tears, and you literally give your own spirit for the city with spirit on a 24-hour basis. you become very protective of that legacy. And Mayor Rowland discussed with me the opportunity of thinking in the future. We called it our what if meetings. What if you decided not to run? What if you came home? What if you quit mid-election? There were different alternatives. I don't use the word anointing. I'm thankful that he endorsed me because many years ago he gave me my first chance. There was an opening on city council, which I was not successful in acquiring. It was a mayoral appointment, and unfortunately came up on the losing end of that
the
appointment. And he said, "Son, I want you to serve. I'll find a place." And it became a city planning commission job appointment. And to this day, I look back and you wonder why. You say, God, what happened? Why was I not successful in the city council, but I was successful in city planning commission? And to this day, every day that I'm on the floor in Nashville and Robert's Rules of Order is called into question and procedural motions are called into question, my service at City Planning Committee and Commission and what I learned working with Greg Thomas and Tim Henderson and the people on that planning commission was procedures and motions and Robert's Rules of Order.
Which the city mayor's the parliamentarian city council.
I refer back to that all the time in Nashville on a daily basis and still thank those members that I see occasionally and still thank Tom Rowland. In fact, I mentioned it this morning that those kind of appointments so many years ago I refer back to and use every day in Nashville. Yes, we do have a very long-standing relationship. And yes, I do consider him a father figure. I do consider him a mentor. You have to understand that the state representation deals with our city and our county government literally on a daily basis. And so I'm very, very good friends with Gary Davis, very good friends with many of our local elected officials. And I'm thrilled to parlay those relationships into a future role.
Glad you mentioned that. Great segue there, Kevin. He's not privy to the questions beforehand.
I'm not.
But in your true foresight, here we go. The relationship between the city and the county governments has been at the forefront of local politics back to even when I was on the commission. There have been lawsuits between the two entities over sales taxes and liquor taxes. There's been disagreements over how to conduct fire in this community, how to fund education, and how to collect taxes.
Animals.
And animals, absolutely. There's no limit to the disagreement that can exist between the city and the county right now. How will you approach working with the county representatives while also being true to the needs of your constituents in the city?
Obviously, Adam, thank you for the question. There's an 8-month campaign process I've got to focus on right now before I can focus on anything along those lines. I've got to win the office of mayor, and that's what I'm going to focus on right now. If God helps us and we are successful in winning this, I really and truly hope that I will be able to use the 12 years of relationship building and ambassadorial skills that I have gained in Nashville, and I hope that I can help. I want to be a part of the solution. I've actually had this discussion already this week with both city and county officials. The what if again. What if we are successful, and what if we are working together in 8 months? Where can we start? Where can we start the dialogue? I liken it, Adam, to marriage. Communication is the key. I'm performing a ceremony tomorrow, in fact.
This is an arranged marriage, by the way, just so you know. Okay.
But to me, I think successful marriage, like any relationship, whether it's a business relationship, a marriage relationship, communication is the key. And I think open and clear communication, transparency is imperative. And I think if I were asked in 8 months where I'll start, I think that's a good place to start.
In a follow-up on that, you mentioned being an ambassador. Is it really just a personality issue between the city and the county? Or is there something more substantive there?
I don't think it is personality. I think that's part of it. But I think that there are substantive changes and substantive differences between city and county. I think it's a different mindset. I think it's locality. I think people. I get comments and emails. I mentioned earlier. You said, "What are you most proud of?" And I said, "Exit 20." I get emails from people that live in that area of southern Bradley County that love it and say, "I bought here 20 years ago because I did not want industrial parks and growth and roads. I wanted a farm and I wanted rural life." That's a huge argument in Nashville itself, those of us that represent urban districts and those of us that represent rural districts. Schools are different. Governments are different. Thinking is different. And I think what we have to do is stop focusing on our differences and focus on what we have in common. And that's one of the things that I would, if successful in my campaign, look forward to doing.
The city just passed a significant tax increase this year. This was at the forefront of many discussions in the community. Some have argued it was not a very conservative position. Knowing that the city council is not a political office that goes through partisan politics.
Correct.
How much of your partisan nature do you plan on taking into this role in a nonpartisan governmental setting?
I do agree that it is termed a nonpartisan race, but everybody knows my politics. Everybody knows that I am a card-carrying, long-term, lifetime Republican, and I'm not going to hide that because I'm running for mayor. I do think that the discussion of the tax is going to come up. Adam, we've cut taxes to the tune of $480 million in Nashville, so I much prefer cutting taxes than raising taxes, and we have got a lot to look forward to. However, remember the quote I said earlier: "To whom much is given, much is required." The growth in our city, which is good, growth is good, does require infrastructure, schools, fire stations, public areas. All that requires revenue. It's got to come from somewhere. So you either find it on the side of cutting back or you find it on the side of increasing taxes. And I've seen both done, and I've seen both work.
For every leader in any governmental or organizational structure, you must have poise. In essence, you have to have a poker face. I'm sure you've used it
How's mine?
In Nashville. We're about to find out. Because here on Inside the Interviews,
Am I supposed to guess what this is?
a very popular thing right now is exchange, and I've not read mine, Kevin's not read his. Inside these envelopes
I want to make sure mine says Kevin.
are 10 dad jokes. You and I are going to face off. The goal
Okay.
is not to laugh, to maintain your poise and your composure as you read me your joke and I read you my joke. Now, producer Josh and producer Jay.
Did Josh come up with these?
No, I don't. This is courtesy of The Punnery. Dan Buck, Michael DeBacher, The Punnery Podcast.
I know
You can
Dan.
find that podcast on
worried.
iTunes.
I'm worried.
Or
I know
Facebook.com. But I have my jokes. You have your jokes. Now, producer Jay's in the studio right now. He's actually going to be the judge of how many points are awarded. So if you laugh at your joke or my joke, I get a point.
What are yours numbered?
Mine are numbered 1 through 10. Yours should be 11 through 20.
I'm 11 through 20.
11 through 20. So these were given to us by the Punnery Podcast. Again, you can catch them on iTunes and Facebook. So I will go first. And Kevin,
Certainly. Yes, sir.
are you ready?
Yes.
Are you ready, Mr. Judge, producer there? What time did the man go to the dentist?
I don't know what time.
2:30. Your turn. I laughed. Does that count?
Can we get a buzzer? Can we get a buzzer?
Get a buzzer? We probably need one.
Why did the Clydesdale give a pony a glass of water?
I'm not sure why.
Because it was a little horse.
I'm reading a book about anti-gravity. It's impossible to put down.
The cashier said, "Sir, would you like the milk in a bag?" Dad said, no, just leave it in the carton.
Here's a patriotic joke.
Thank
You're
you.
an American when you go into the bathroom, and you're an American when you come out. But you know what you are while you're in there? European. One point for Kevin.
I'm going to play poker with you.
Okay, here we go.
Did you hear about the guy who invented lifesavers?
No.
They say he made a mint.
Did you know the first French fries weren't actually cooked in France?
French or France?
They weren't cooked in France.
Where were they cooked, Adam?
Well, they were cooked in Greece.
I blame Dan. I bought some shoes from a drug dealer.
I'm losing.
I bought some shoes from a drug dealer. I don't know what he laced them with, but I was tripping all day.
Can we just cut that one out for a special segment in which he runs from?
Horrible.
That's
Dan Buck.
I'm losing. Thanks,
I thought he
Dan,
was
for
a
the
doctorate.
joke. Okay, here we go. You want to hear a joke about a piece of paper?
Yes.
Never mind. It's terrible.
Right. Adam, why do chicken coops only have 2 doors?
I don't know why.
Because if they had 4 doors, they'd be called chicken sedans.
Kevin, I just watched a documentary about beavers.
You just laughed at your own joke.
I can't say it on the air.
Yeah. Pull that one.
It was the best.
Adam.
You know what show?
Adam,
Go ahead.
what do you
I'm
call a
losing.
factory that sells passable products?
What?
A Satis factory. Yeah.
If you see a robbery at an Apple store, does that make you an eyewitness?
No. Kid, hey, I was thinking. Dad, I thought I'd smelled something burning. Mine are more like one-liners.
Spring is here. I got so excited I wet my plants. Well, I've got the short end of this stick.
I think I win by
Dan
default.
Buck has seeded my
I think
envelope.
I win by default.
Yeah, you've won. All right.
This is
Got 2 more, I think, each or something.
so awful. Hey, Adam, how do you make a Kleenex dance?
How, Kevin?
Put a little boogie in it.
It's a Church of God joke. A ham sandwich walks into a bar and orders a beer. The bartender says, "Sorry, we don't serve food here."
It's actually a law. A termite walks into a bar and says, "Is the bartender here?" Tinder. It's wood.
Yeah.
Termite.
I got it.
Yeah, if you have to explain it,
I'm trying not to laugh.
we got to
Kevin.
fire our writers.
Thanks, Dan Buck. What's Forrest Gump's password? One Forrest Run.
I was going to say Jenny. Peas and carrots.
His shoes.
Chocolate.
I think you've got one more.
Adam, when a dad drives past a graveyard, he says to his son, "Did you know that's a popular cemetery?" Son, yep, people are just dying to get in there.
I think I can hold back on that. But
Yeah.
the poise has been revealed. It's clearly with the skunk right here. I think it was like 6-0. Thanks to the guys from the punnery for making me look like an idiot today.
Yeah, it's bad.
Thank you to the Honorable Kevin Brooks running for Cleveland City Mayor. I'm sure you'll hear more. Is there a website that you want to give to people or any further plans that you want to announce today?
VoteKevinBrooks.com.
VoteKevinBrooks.com if you've got further questions. We'll have more inside the interviews coming up with other candidates.
Just no more jokes.
No more. I don't know what we'll do next. I thought I would do much better in that process than I did. So that's all we have. Thank you to Kevin. Thank you to WTNB, Charter Channel 5, Comcast 210, Digital TV Dial 27.1. I'm Dr. J. Adam Lowe, and we will see you next week on Man Up America. Thank you, Kevin.
Thanks, Adam.
Thanks, guys.